Hey guys, Werner Von Wallenrod back with a new video. And just because my recent spat of, all new music, that kind of span I was doing for a little while there is finished with, and, I got back to doing some old school stuff, doesn't mean like you've seen the last of new music here. I'm just going back to normal now where new music is interspersed with music from all other eras. And so I got a brand new music for this video here, and also for my next one. But today I'm going to talk about an album called Portals by UG of the Cella Dwellas, or sometimes just the Dwellas. This Portals album has been a long time coming, and I mean seriously long. They were putting out advertisements for this back in like 2011. I think it was announced maybe in 2010. Like, it's been talked about for years, a really long time. Had a release date of like May 12th, 2012, which obviously didn't happen. For a while, the label Creative Juices had it like on all their emails. They said, coming soon, new album from Jice One, new album from UG Portals, and then eventually it just kind of quietly disappeared, and they dropped it. And I even emailed them and I asked them, like, what's up with Portals? You stopped announcing it, and they're like, we don't even know when it's happening anymore, so we're not going to keep announcing it and getting fans' hopes up. So years and years later now, 2016, just in time for Halloween, appropriately enough. If you know UG's kind of style, which he sometimes, not always, sometimes uses, is Portals. In fact, all the way back in 2010, Creative Juices put out this album sampler, which is a CD, with songs from all their upcoming projects by all their artists. And UG has 2 songs on here, and it specifically says, take from UG's upcoming album Portals, including the title cut, Portals, 2000 CDs on this CD. The other track is called Scripts and Scrolls, which interestingly is not on the Portals album now in 2016, but we will come back to that in a minute. So anyway, that just gives you an idea of how long that's been coming. So here it is, Portals, finally. Now this is just the CD. There is also a limited edition with some variants, which I did get, so I will talk about a little bit later as we get into the video. But now let's just talk about the album proper, Portals. First of all, it's really good. I'm happy. It's worth the wait. I'm glad we finally got it. It's not a disaster. It's not, I don't know why it was held up for years, but it's not because it was awful or anything like that. Definitely a solid album. Definitely what I, as a fan, was hoping for from UG. It's not perfect. There are moments on here, which could be a little tighter, a little bit this and that. I'll get critical as we go on. But definitely, basic fundamental message. If you're a UG fan, you're going to be really happy with this album. If you're a Cella Dwellas fan, you're going to be really happy with this album. It's really dope. Production is all by ID, who is kind of like the main head of the Creative Juices label. I don't know if he actually runs it, but he's sort of like the big figurehead. He has a bunch of solo albums on the label, and he also produces almost all the other acts. And he does all the production here. And he has a style which really fits UG well. It sort of reminds me of when Madlib matched up with Percy P, and they did a whole album together, when Percy P went on Stone's Throw. Except I would say ID is even a better match for UG than Madlib was for Percy P. With Percy P, I was sort of saying, they let Diamond D and some other people produce some tracks here. Totally happy with ID doing them all. So Portals is UG's debut solo album. And when I was reading that in the promo material, I'm like, you're crazy. No, it's not. Because I got, all these solo UG records back here, but they're all 12-inch singles. So actually, when you think about it, this is his first full-length album, apart from the Cella Dwellas. And the thing about this album, as the album cover, which is probably, you're getting some glare there, so probably kind of hard to see. I'll put up a scan of it or something in the video. So as the album cover tells you, as the title kind of tells you, he is back to his classic kind of Cella Dwellas mystical style that they sort of came up with back in like 93, 94 with Land of the Lost and their whole debut, where they really kind of took the world by storm. Unfortunately, I think they got caught up in the horrorcore bubble, which burst in 94 and kind of left them not knowing what to do, and Loud Records not knowing what to do with them. I would say they're not really horrorcore. I interviewed UG, which you can see elsewhere on my blog, and he says he's not horrorcore. But there's definitely the influence there. He's definitely kind of, I'd say not horrorcore only because maybe it's not strictly horror imagery, like, say, the Flatliners. Like, he's much more kind of creative, wild imagery, which often dips right into horrorcore, but is also sort of kind of fantastic and fantasy, and, could be just as well like Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy, that kind of stuff, and, Game of Thrones than necessarily horror movie kind of stuff. But it's a cool blend of that. But the point is that he has this really kind of fantastical kind of lyricism, which what I think stands out about it is that him and the other Cella Dwellers were the only guys who could really do it on this level. Like, they were incredible. And certainly, they did plenty of non-hardcore stuff right off on the first album. I think totally proved that they could do kind of more generic New York Nas kind of stuff. I mean, Good Dwellers was a really dope song, which was like gangsta kind of stuff. Advance the Boardwalk was a really kind of a cool, thematic, stylized concept song, which again, nothing to do though with the kind of fancy stuff that they usually do. and lots of basic kind of freestyle punchline kind of 90s stuff that everybody was doing. So they're totally masters of all that kind of New York freestyle stuff. But they proved that, as far as I'm concerned, all the way back in the 90s. So what disappointed me was that because, again, of probably the horrorcore bubble bursting and no one wanted to be associated with horrorcore because people were saying it was corny and this and that they really kind of put away the whole kind of Cella Dwellas aspect of who they were, which is what made them stand out. Because, yeah, they could do New York stuff as well as almost any other New York act. UG has really great skills. He's got a really great voice. Phantasm is just as dope. Like, they could do records with Special Ed and Gage and all that and fit right in and kill it. But lots of artists were doing that. Nobody was doing what the Cella Dwellas were doing when they were doing, like, Land of the Lost. So when they put it away, like, there is no more music like that, period. A few kind of knockoffs and, you know, hardcore artists and stuff, but no one on that level, really. And in fact, one thing that's kind of interesting is if you look at other creative Juice's acts, like Alucard and all, they're at least dipping into that. They're definitely influenced by that and doing that somewhat stylistically. Now, they still keep it a lot more kind of traditional, you know, rapping about rapping kind of stuff. They don't go as far as the Cella Dwellas did, but they're definitely going in that direction and taking from that. So it's a perfect fit then that UG, when he comes back, is on Creative Juices. And not only on Creative Juices, but on like all these UG solo records behind me, he's back with the Mystical Styles. Not the entire album. There are definitely songs on here where it's more battle rap kind of stuff, or at least where it's kind of mixed in, like maybe there's some creative imagery mixed into battle raps, but he's definitely rapping about rapping and stuff like that, as opposed to kind of really going whole hog crazy, which he also does on several songs and through a lot of this album. So if you're looking for that, again, you will not be disappointed. I was looking for that, and I was really happy to finally get it, because if you think about it, Land of the Lost, classic, they did the best. They had a couple other songs in the first album, but only a few where they did the kind of really mystical kind of stuff. On the second album, really only UG on Il Collabo, which is a song they did with Organized Confusion. His verse is like that. That's basically the only thing on the whole album where they're not just doing sort of more generic New York stuff. Their solo stuff, none of that. So he's really bringing it back for the first time since, 96, whatever year that was, 97 maybe for the second album. So it's been dead until then, and he is still the master of it. Not a step has been lost. So if I'm super happy with ID's production, I'm super happy with the direction that UG is taking, I still love his voice, I still think he's talented, then what are my complaints about the album? Well, it feels a little kind of stretched. There are several skits throughout the album, which are musical skits. They're not like skits, which are really annoying. Like, these are instrumental skits with production and stuff like that, so it's definitely better than your average skit. But it is still like these kind of long 2-minute stretches with no rapping from UG, which kind of, slows down the pace. And you got several guest rappers on here who aren't bad. In fact, I'll get into them specifically. But you want to hear UG doing UG, especially since it's been so freaking long. Like, again, he hasn't had a solo album. He hasn't had a solo 12-inch since like 2001. So like you just want to hear him do his mystical style. So every time we stop for a skit, every time we stop for, Necro and Self-Titled and these guys, it's just kind of blah, 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 and freestyle, you're like, all right, can we just get back to what I want? Can we back to the best stuff? So that's one issue. Another is that he opens up the album with a song which I wasn't that thrilled with. They actually made it like the music video and everything, so I guess the guys at Creative Juices don't agree with me. They think it's like the song, which is great production. And it's pretty good, but he does this really kind of staccato, broken up flow. It's a lot like that Smooth the Hustler song he did with his brother, the one that made him famous. I'm blanking on the title now. Chuck D ripped it off. Broken Language, where they're just listing things, like those Bucksy 65 songs where he lists stuff and that's the whole song. I don't like those either. Like Broken Language, it was great. But when they came back for Broken Language 2, you're like, okay, the novelty's over. Like, I got the gimmick. We're done with it. Let's move on. Because there's no flow is the problem with it. It's boom. One thing, period, one thing, period, one thing. He's not quite listing, but every, line, there's a long pause between the next one. I'm UG. I flow like this. Here I come. Those aren't actual lyrics, of course. And he doesn't sound like that. But just that pausing in the delivery is what I'm talking about. And that's kind of annoying. And then the next song after that, he does the same thing. And I was a little worried, oh my God, is he going to do the whole album rapping like this? But then he comes up to a song called Super Gods, which is amazing. And I would buy the whole album, the limited edition, everything just for that song. It is killer. He flows incredible. He's doing his crazy, mystical, really inventive lyrics. Great production. It's amazing. Then he's got more good songs on after that. So he definitely does get there, but it does sort of feel like the album is like kind of, padded out. And he's got another song on here, I think it's called Might and Magic, which is really great again, right up there along with Super Gods, the title track Portals, which again we've had since 2010, but it is on here and it's still a great song. And then, there's like a song where the hook isn't so good, and there's a song where the lyrics are a little bit more generic, So it's it's an album with fantastic, brilliant, 100% moments, and the rest of the album goes, into like an 80, 75%, you know what I mean? So overall, definitely, if you're a fan, get this album, you need it. You probably don't even need to watch this video, you're already on it. But you'll just know that when you do get it, you won't be disappointed. So let's talk about the guest rappers. One thing, there was an announced guest appearance by Ill Bill, as in of Nonfiction, and who's down with Necro and Psychological Records, which is not actually on the album, but we'll come back to that. That was supposed to be on the album, and I guess got dropped somewhere in the shuffle. So the three guests we do have are Lifelong, who the first time I heard the album, again, I thought, okay, he's kind of boring. He's not bad. He's not whack, but I didn't really want to hear him. I just, let's just hear me UG. Now I've gone back to the album several times and really got into it. I'm actually really digging what he's doing. What's cool about it is that he is going there with UG. He is doing the crazy mystical kind of stuff and doing some crazy wild imagery and space alien kind of stuff, which is really kind of cool and creative. So I'm actually grown more appreciative of his contribution. Self-titled, on the other hand, is the opposite of that. It's exactly sort of what I was thinking of. He's basically just sort of doing generic battle rap stuff, and he just sort of sounds like it doesn't belong in this album. It sounds like it comes from somebody's boring mixtape. Like, he's got a few lines in there where he's got some, multi-delivery, multi-syllable stuff in there, which sounds good. If you take it apart, you say like, oh, that's a good line, but overall, he's just kind of boring, and again, it just doesn't really sound like he belongs on there. And then the third is Necro, and if you've read my blog, you've probably heard me mention a few times, I'm not the biggest fan of Necro, because he really, most of the time, comes off as really just kind of juvenile, and just sort of saying the most schlocky, like he's hardcore, but really just for the most juvenile kind of, I'm trying to shock you by saying curse words and gory stuff and sexist stuff, and, it sounds like it's all written by a 12-year-old. And so, like, his shining moment sort of was when he did a parody of LL Cool J's I Need Love called I Need Drugs, and even then, like, I didn't buy that record. I heard it once, I thought, hey, okay, kind of amusing, done. That's all the novelty of it. And so I like him as a producer, though. All right, I don't know how much on a tangent I should go, but like when he first came out with Cage, I'm one of those guys who always thought they should have never split up, because I thought his production for Cage's lyrics were great. And then when they split up, Cage needed that kind of grounding and that production and even that more kind of hardcore edge that Necro gave him. And Necro needed Cage's more sort of slightly higher-minded lyricism. And so that really kind of hurt them both, I think, when they split. And I think neither of them have ever fully recouped. But I have to say, Necro, in the more recent years, has really elevated his kind of style. He's definitely been influenced by Cool G Rap. Now, obviously, he did the album Godfathers with Cool G Rap. I think he was even taking that influence before then, just as a listener. But you can really hear, so he really goes into some kind of fast-paced, hardcore deliveries with crazy multi-syllable rhymes, which really get kind of clever and smart. So he really has put in the effort, and it does pay off. And thankfully, that's the kind of delivery he does in this album. So I'm not a huge Necro fan, but I have to say he really brings his absolute A-game. He's really trying hard, and it really does pay off. So he's still, I would probably say I prefer it without him, but he's not, it's not whack, it's fine. It's totally fine. There's also some really nice cuts on here. What's kind of cool is it's pretty subtle. There's no like crazy, we'll just let the DJ go nuts for 5 minutes kind of thing. But especially like on the instrumental skits, there's some kind of cool like scribble scratching and stuff like that, just kind of mixed in low and stuff. So some cool kind of DJ work mixed in that never, takes away from the focus, which is UG and his lyrics and his storytelling. So that's the basic album on CD, which you can get pretty much anywhere. But if you order it directly from the Creative Juices website, you can get the kind of special edition package deal, which I did get, which comes with several things. It actually came with a t-shirt, which I'm not wearing because I didn't plan this out far enough in advance. It's in the laundry right now. I didn't think about it. But I wore it in my last video, the Halloween video, so you can kind of see it there. It's a really kind of cool black design. Actually, there's multiple designs, but the best one is the black shirt with the kind of the cool purple, which is basically the album cover, but it looks really cool on the shirt. So there's that. There's the cassette version, which I'm holding right here, which, very awesomely enough, is a purple cassette. And you guys who know your Cella Dwellas history know there's an extra good, not only is purple kind of a cool color that matches with the Portals artwork and style and the mystic kind of stuff, but if you know your Cella Dwellas history, it really fits in. Because before the really famous Purple Tape by Raekwon, there was Land of the Lost, Cella Dwellas' first single, and that was a purple tape. And remember, Cella Dwellas were on Loud Records, as was Raekwon. And honestly, I believe the only reason why Raekwon's Purple Tape is a purple tape is because they had already done Purple with Land of the Lost single, and they just had, this deal with the the manufacturers, or they had all this extra purple plastic. I don't think there's any real reason for Raekwon to be purple. It's purple because they felt like Land of the Lost should have this crazy color plastic to go with a crazy mystical song. Because again, they're rapping about all kinds of stuff about underwater pirates and mystics and leaping through portals and they're wizards. It's like a crazy wild song, and so that fits with the hardcore and the purple plastic and the crazy bell artwork and all that. And so that's why Raekwon had a purple tape, but now that's why UG Portals is a purple tape. So that's pretty cool. And now we come back to that song with Ill Bill. This cassette has a bonus track, and that bonus track is a song with Ill Bill. The other stuff that comes with the limited package is this kind of a signed LP size poster, they call it, but it's like a picture cover, but it's just the one thing. Signed by Eugene ID, which is pretty cool, and gets the same album cover. As you can see, it's kind of creased and damaged. That's because they put it in an envelope and folded it in half to fit into the envelope, like around the t-shirt and all. So, hey, surprise, surprise, it's all damaged, and the black is all creased, and you get white on the cover and stuff, where it's like the cover is ripped off. Just bad packaging ideas. But it's just artwork. It's not that important. The other cool thing you do get in the package is this CD, the instrumental CD, and like you would assume, it is instrumentals of all the songs from Portals, but it also includes 4 bonus vocal tracks on here. One of them is, again, the song with Ill Bill, which is a bonus track on the cassette, so if you want that to see whatever, it's on here as well. Another one is that Scripts and Scrolls song that was on that 2000 compilation album that was not on the album. Here it finally is on this album, although I think it also wound up on like an ID mixtape or an album, a compilation album or something in the meantime. But since it is originally meant to be from Portals, it is good to finally have it here with Portals. Plus, it's one of the dope songs. It's one of the better songs on here. It's actually better than a lot of songs I think on Portals, so it is really cool. Then there's a remix of the song with Self-Titled, which, it's still a song with Self-Titled, so I don't care that much about it. And another song called Wordplay, which again, I thought was one of the weaker UG songs, but it's the second song they made like the music video and single of, so I guess the label and I really don't see eye to eye on what's the best material here. But if you like that song, here it is. It's on the CD. And I don't dislike it. I'm just saying it's one of the lesser songs. It's still good. There is no whack material here. The worst song is good on Portals. So I'm just saying it's not up to like Super Gods, which I think is amazing. I hope maybe I'm wrong about that though, and maybe the label really does agree with me more than I'm thinking right now, because they're coming out in December with a limited vinyl EP of Portals. And so I'm hoping, because obviously the idea limited, it's an EP, so it's just going to be the best track. So I'm hoping they agree with me and put on the tracks like Super Gods, like Portals, like Scripts and Scrolls, and not the ones I think are maybe more fillers. We'll see how that works out. They've already got posters of it, pictures of it though. It's like a cool picture cover, it's a cool label and everything, so it looks really good. And again, even if they don't really agree with me and it's not the songs I would pick, it's still going to be pretty dope. So yeah, overall, I like the album. Not thrilled with the guests, but they don't bother me. And again, I've grown to appreciate Lifelong's contribution more. A couple guests I really would like to see, actually, are Phantasm and Lord Have Mercy. That would have been amazing. And maybe even Nick Wiz as a guest producer. There's actually, in fact, in 2012-ish, they had a promo video about how Nick Wiz was reuniting with both Phantasm and UG for a Cella Dwellas reunion. They're going to do a new album and everything. That never happened, but if it took UG, from 2010 to 2016 to do Portals, maybe that means the Cella Dwellas reunion album is right around the corner. Hopefully, maybe. That would be cool. But either way, I just think that would have been fantastic to have them back just for one song on Portals, doing the full Land of the Lost crazy kind of style on Portals. To just really bring it all home would have been amazing, especially Lord Have Mercy, because if you hear him back on the old Underground Airplay videos, tapes rather, when he was doing the Cella Dwellas kind of stuff, he sounded amazing. Like, at least as good as the other Cella Dwellas. It was incredible, and it was really awesome. And then when you first started hearing him on the flip mode stuff, he was killing it, and I was like, oh wow, this Lord Have Mercy guy is amazing, he's the best. And then we finally started coming out with his solos records. He's all like, I'm in the club drinking the Cristal, and it's just really boring and generic. And I'm not surprised that his album never came out and his career kind of flatlined. I think he just threw it all away trying to sound as lame and generic as everybody else was sounding, and he had something there and he didn't really use it. So that's, might not have been his decision. It might have been the label and Elektra Records. I'm sure there was a lot of influence like that. But whoever it was, I think that hurt him. So I would love to hear him back now on Portals. That would have been amazing to have the three of them all doing it, a full Cella Dwellas reunion. But, okay, didn't happen. And one other thing you got with the package, I don't know if you get it now. You definitely got it when you pre-ordered. Now it's on just regular order, so it might be too late for you guys. But it's probably going to resurface at some point. I just want to say, because there are delays with the album, they emailed everybody a bonus MP3 song, which is not on anything. It's not on the instrumental CD as a bonus track. It's not on the cassette. It's a UG produced by ID song that's only
so far released in that email that we pre-order people got. And it's great. It's actually one of the best songs. I like it better than a lot of songs on Portals. It's called Open Your Eyes. It's really cool. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that turns up on the next UG album, or maybe as a B-side to a single or something. So look out for that. Hopefully it'll come out. Or it's just a really cool thing us people who, hardcore fans who pre-ordered got. But I imagine it'll come out. And also, interestingly, Creative Juices is already announcing on their upcoming stuff. Like I said, they announced all their, Jice One albums, whatever's coming. Another UG album. From its title, which I don't remember offhand, but it sounded more generic, so I wouldn't be surprised if Portals was his, mystical side, and now he's going to come with his more street side kind of stuff, which, okay, fine. He's good at it all, so, I'll definitely check for that album. But a little bit disappointed, only because, I don't think he needs to prove it to us. Again, he's done that since 94, 93. So I'd just like to see him doing the one thing, most artists are lucky to do anything that catches the world's attention. Because, there's a million, billion, zillion, trillion people who want to be rappers, rock stars, whatever, and who never take off at all, who never get out of their garage. They put up a song on MySpace and not a single person ever listens to it. So when you had someone like the Cella Dwellas doing something that really captured the imagination, had something new that they totally mastered, and then kind of toss that away as a disappointment. So I'd love to see that come back. I certainly don't begrudge UG doing some more street sound kind of stuff. So if that's what he's doing, fine. But I hope he doesn't. I hope this wasn't like a one-off, like, hey, I did Portals, and that's it for 20 more years. But we shall see. Despite my nitpicks, I'm super happy to at least have this album. I'll certainly check for the LP, or the EP rather, the vinyl, and the next album. I'll be following whatever he does because he's dope. Phantasm was also doing some new music kind of stuff, so I'll be checking that out. So it's all good. Could maybe be potentially better. I have some nitpicks, but it's all good. So Portals from UG just came out. I'll play a couple clips now.